What's up, everyone? Back for another beer review, and today is day one of the 5th annual 10 Days of Pumpkin here on the channel. To kick off the festivities, I am reviewing a beer from the Lakefront Brewery, and they are out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and this is their Pumpkin Lager, the 2022 release. So they're calling this one a lager brewed with real pumpkin and spices, and those spices are cinnamon, allspice, ginger, nutmeg, cloves, and mace. Comes in at 6.1% alcohol by volume, 10 IBUs at the time of review. I don't know exactly how old this bottle is, but it does have a best by date of January 28th of 2023. So we're about 3.5 months away from that date, and we should be fine. I want to give a huge thanks and shout out to Lakefront, the brewery itself, for hooking me up with this one. So big thanks to them. In the description box, I'll post a link to the beer mail video I did that contains both beers they sent my way. They sent me this, and they sent me the other beer that I'll be reviewing during this year's 10 Days of Pumpkin, and that is their Brandy Barrel Aged Imperial Pumpkin Ale, and that'll be the final day, day 10 on Halloween. I'll review that one. So yeah, really excited about this one. Now, they did send it my way, but I did also mention to the brewery before they sent it that I'm going to be honest with my review, like I do with every other review on the channel, and they clearly sent me both beers, so they're cool with it. And that's awesome because I want to give you guys my honest take. When a brewery sends me a beer, I want to be thorough, but also honest. And I'm really looking forward to this one. Why? It's a pumpkin lager. How many pumpkin lagers do you see out there? I don't see a lot. The only other one I can think of off the top of my head that I've had was Jack's Abbey, their pumpkin crop lager, and that was back in like 2015 or 16, and it was pretty solid. So I'm really excited about this one. Lakefront also told me that this is the longest running, or I should say oldest, pumpkin beer post-prohibition, now that Buffalo Bills has unfortunately closed their doors. Buffalo Bills Pumpkin Ale was first, I think, brewed in like the mid-'80s, and this one shortly thereafter. I think it was the late 80s. So this is the oldest one, over 30 years old with this recipe. So I think that's fantastic. Hopefully it's delicious. Let's give it a pour here. So I think a pumpkin lager just makes sense, especially if you're trying to, make it like a session beer. Like, I know a lot of people out there be like, I'm not sessioning pumpkin beers, and I get that. But let's say you did. Let's say you wanted a session pumpkin beer. I think a pumpkin lager makes perfect sense from that aspect. So, because there's spices and whatnot in it, and real pumpkin, this is not crystal clear like a typical lager. It has a lot of fine particulates, suspended in animation, a lot of haze, general haze, but this has that like dark orange almost into like a copper color, rust color, more copper. Had about a 3/4 of a finger of this off-white head that is now dissipated to a thin film. But yeah, that kind of looks like a pumpkin ale. In this case, a pumpkin lager. Let's get a nose. Yeah, that smells really nice. Yeah, I just, I would imagine if you're in the camp that doesn't like pumpkin beers or pumpkin ales or whatever, you probably just don't like pumpkin spices for the most part, right? And then if you do, you probably do. I love them. I should take it back. I don't love them. I really enjoy them, especially in the fall. And this is just hitting all the notes. There's cinnamon. There's a big nutmeg and allspice leading the way. Yeah, a little bit of clove. A lot of people will be like, oh, it smells like a pumpkin candle or something, to some degree. But it has a little bit of like undertones of like this bready, slightly like caramel toffee, brown sugar, like roasted sugar. Like a roasted malt that has like a nice caramelized sugar, we'll say. So it's almost akin to like a pumpkin pie filling, but it's not, it doesn't have that crazy sweetness you'd get from a pumpkin pie filling. Maybe a touch of like a vanilla too. I don't think there's vanilla in here, right? They didn't say vanilla. No, just spices. Yeah, but I'm getting like a little vanilla tinge. Yeah, maybe a little bit of like a sulfur note from the lager. Very, very minute. Yeah, this just smells really nice. Somewhat delicate too, despite the fact it's a lager. Let's get into it. Cheers, everybody. And thanks again to Lakefront for this one. That's really nice. I like that. And here's the thing. I'm getting the lager base, believe it or not. Like, there is the lager base, drinking so many Oktoberfests this year and really getting into like Hellas's and drinking more Pilsners and stuff. That lager base is present. So what I like about this after that first sip is the fact that I can taste the base beer. And it's on the finish. That's really cool. This is nice. This is really nice. So body's like lower side of medium body, approaching medium, 6.1%, kind of around what it should be. The mouthfeel, It's crisp. It's really super clean. That's why I like that finish, because it has that lager finish to it. But very clean on the finish, super refreshing. Crispy on the palate. I'd say like a nice moderate to touch over moderate carbonation. The taste, right at the forefront. I'm hit with the spices. For me, it's a mixture. The cinnamon isn't as pronounced. I'm getting more like allspice, nutmeg, and clove. And that carries on through the palate. Underneath, there's a little bit of, again, that caramelized sugar, brown sugar, caramel, toffee, something in that realm, but more to like the brown sugar side of things. It does make me reminisce about like just a pumpkin, the filling of a pumpkin pie, right? But again, it's not as sweet as that. It just has the flavors without the sweetness you would get from the pumpkin pie filling. There's a very slight touch of like vanilla or something akin to vanilla about halfway through the palate, maybe 2/3 of the way through the palate. And then on the finish is where the base lager actually shines. I'm getting this nice bready, almost slightly biscuity kind of malt character, slight graininess. And it has this, and it finishes with this nice earthy, slight spicy kind of finish, but it's spicy in a way of like a hop as opposed to the spices themselves that hit me at the front of the palate. This is semi-dry, mildly bitter, but more semi to full-on dry. I'd say in between semi to full-on dry, and there's just a mild bitterness. So this doesn't really have a ton of bitterness, but it's more of that earthy, spicy kind of hop bitterness. Do I love this beer? I do not love this beer. Do I really like it? You bet your ass I like this. I want to try more pumpkin lagers. I want more breweries to do pumpkin lagers. Like this, I'll say it again. I felt like going into this one, this would be like a very drinkable, sessionable pumpkin lager. And it is. It's a pumpkin beer that I could session on, and that makes me happy that something like this exists. What doesn't make me happy is the fact that I can't get it locally. But I would definitely buy a six-pack of this every year if I lived in Milwaukee or throughout the Midwest where I think they get distribution. But anyway, rating on the pumpkin lager, the 2022 release from Lakefront, I am going to give this a very, very solid 4 out of 5. I think that's where it lands. It's just a real good pumpkin lager. Nothing more, nothing less. I like that I get this, some of the spices. The base beer being there really helps it out. I like the smooth, clean kind of finish, and it's just good. So 4 out of 5 all day long. Price and availability. This is where anybody help me out if you live in Wisconsin or in the Midwest. I would imagine, this is what my guess would be for the price point. I would guess anywhere 10 to 12 bucks for a 6-pack, and I would think the availability of this is probably throughout the Midwest. You probably can get this in Illinois, Wisconsin, probably Minnesota, maybe get this in Michigan. I don't know. I do know that I went to Erie, Pennsylvania before, and they had it there, so probably in PA, but I don't know. If anybody knows, throw in the comment section. I would appreciate it. If you've had this one before, post in the comment section. Let me know what you think about it. 6.1%, no real warming in the chest, nothing on the palate. It's a lager that drinks like one, and it drinks like a really well-made one. So, I was like a little bit skeptical going into this one, to be honest with you. I was like, it's a pumpkin lager. How flavor? It's really flavorful for something that's 6.1%. And I can't get over the nice, smooth, clean finish. It's hard to explain that unless you try this, because a lot of times I get malt character dives underneath the palate. Very rarely do I get hit with malt character on the back of the palate, but the finish of this one is straight up a very well-made, solid lager. And that's what kind of makes this beer for me. So thanks again to Lakefront for this one. On day 10, the final day of 10 Days Pumpkin, I will be reviewing their Brandy Barrel Aged Imperial Pumpkin Ale. Can't wait. That is definitely more in my wheelhouse, and I think I'm probably going to enjoy it more than this, but we will see. And I appreciate everybody stopping by for another beer review here on the Beer Patrol. Stop by tomorrow, day 2. It is a duo review with myself and Matt over at Massive Beers, and we are doing W.E. Yerbacher's Imperial Pumpkin Ale. Firebacher? Sure. Weyerbacher? Okay, it's W.E. Yerbacher. Anyway, to the next one. Cheers.